Class 11th, Subject Physics, 4th chapter, Laws of Motion. From this chapter, let us see first introduction of this chapter. If there is continuous change in the position of any object, then we can say that the object is in motion. Now the motion of the object is studied in mechanics. So mechanics is the branch of physics which deals with the motion of the objects. Mechanics is classified into two groups as statics and kinetics. In case of statics, the objects are at rest or in equilibrium under the action of balance forces, and in case of kinetics, the objects are in actual motion. Now kinetics is further classified as the kinematics and dynamics. Kinematics and dynamics. In kinematics, we consider the various motions without their causes. So in case of kinematics conditions, in case of kinematics, we consider various motions of the objects without considering the causes of their motion. The parameters considered in kinematics are distance, displacement, speed, velocity, acceleration, etc. While in case of dynamics, we consider the various motions with their causes. So in case of dynamics, we consider the motions with their causes. What are the causes of motion that will be considered, and therefore the parameters considered in case of dynamics are momentum, force, energy, power, etc. Now depending upon the values of initial velocity and acceleration of the object, there are some different types of motion as linear motion, circular motion, parabolic motion, etc. So depending upon the condition of initial velocity and acceleration of that body, the motion of the body may be linear, that is along a straight line path, or circular, that is along a circular track, or sometimes it will be parabolic. So these are some of the different motion or the paths or trajectory traced by the object during their motion. And now let us see Aristotle's fallacy. Fallacy म्हणजेच त्या ठिकाणी विरुद्ध किंवा उलट अशी संकल्पना की जी कन्सेप्ट चुकीची आहे, दॅट इज रॉंग कन्सेप्ट, दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज फॉलसी. सो Aristotle stated that an external force is required to keep a body in uniform motion. An external force is required to keep a body in uniform motion. For example, a ball rolling on a surface stops after rolling through some distance, and thus to keep the ball moving with constant velocity, a continuous force is applied on it. The continuous force is necessary to be applied on that ball so as to keep that ball moving with constant velocity. But this concept was false, and then afterwards it was improved by using Newton's laws of motion. And therefore let us see the next point, that is Newton's laws of motion. In all, there are 3 laws of motion given by Newton. One by one we will state it. The first law, Newton's first law of motion, states that every inanimate म्हणजेच अचल, every inanimate object continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform unaccelerated motion unless and until it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. Every inanimate object continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform unaccelerated motion unless and until it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. That means whenever any external unbalanced force is not acting on any body, then that body will be in its rest position or in uniform unaccelerated motion. So when unbalanced force is applied on any body, then and then only there will be change in the state of that body. That means body will be set into motion from rest position or will be brought to rest from motion. Second law, Newton's second law of motion, it will be stated as the rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to applied force and it takes place in the direction of force. The rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to applied force and it takes place in the direction of force. That means here linear momentum of the body will be considered. Now we know that linear momentum of the body is defined as the product of the mass of the body and its velocity, that is P is equal to mv, and therefore according to Newton's second law of motion, that force will be equal to rate of change of momentum, that is dp by dt. But we know that this P is nothing but product of mv, and therefore d by dt of mv will get, that will be written as m is constant and therefore derivative of velocity will be taken. But we know that dv by dt represents rate of change of velocity with respect to time, which is nothing but the acceleration, and therefore f equal to ma. Therefore we can write f equal to ma, and this equation represents the mathematical form for Newton's second law of motion. And now let us see third law. Newton's third law of motion. To every action, that is force, there is an equal and opposite reaction, that is force. So to every action there is always an equal and opposite reaction. That will be the statement for third law. Now let us see the importance of Newton's laws of motion. So first of all, let us see the importance of Newton's first law of motion. Importance of Newton's first law of motion. The first point, it shows an equivalence between the state of rest and the state of uniform motion along a straight line, as both need a net unbalanced force to change the state. So the state of the rest and the state of uniform motion are called as state of motion and can be distinguished by considering the choice of frame of reference. So again it will be stated, it shows an equivalence between the state of rest and state of uniform motion along a straight line, as both need a net unbalanced force to change the state. The state of rest and the state of uniform motion both are called as the state of motion and can be distinguished by considering the choice of frame of reference. Second point of importance is it defines, that is first law defines the force as the physical quantity that changes the state of motion of the body. Newton's first law of motion defines the force as the physical quantity that changes the state of motion of the body. Third point is Newton's first law of motion defines inertia as the fundamental property of every physical object by which the object resists any change in its state of motion. Inertia is the measure as the mass of the object. So Newton's first law of motion defines inertia as the fundamental property of every physical object by which the object resists any change in its state of motion. Then inertia is measured as the mass of the object. So in this case, inertia is nothing but it is the tendency of a body to remain in a state of rest or of uniform motion as it is, and therefore this will be the importance of Newton's first law of motion. Now let us see importance of Newton's second law of motion. Importance of Newton's second law of motion. So for this, the first point will be, it gives the mathematical formula for quantitative measure of force as the rate of change of linear momentum. It gives the mathematical formula or relation for quantitative measure of force as the rate of change of linear momentum. Just now we have seen that here F is equal to dp by dt. So this is the mathematical formula for the quantity which is called as force, and the mathematical formula for the quantity which is the measure of force as the rate of change of linear momentum will be given by this second law. Second point, second law defines momentum, that is P equal to mv, instead of velocity as the fundamental quantity. Second law defines momentum, that is P equal to mv, instead of velocity as the fundamental quantity. Then third point of importance is Aristotle's fallacy is overcome by considering resultant unbalanced force. So according to this second law, Aristotle's fallacy is overcome by considering the resultant unbalanced force. And now let us see next point, that is importance of Newton's third law of motion. Importance of Newton's third law of motion. First point is Newton's third law of motion defines action and reaction as a pair of equal and opposite forces acting along the same line. Newton's third law defines the action and reaction as a pair of equal and opposite forces acting along the same line. Then second point is the action and reaction forces are always acting on different objects. The action and reaction forces are always acting on the different objects. These two forces will not act on the same object, otherwise the resultant force will be equal to 0. Now let us see some of the consequences of Newton's laws of motion. Consequences, in Marathi it is called as parinam. So what are the consequences of Newton's laws of motion? So in action reaction forces, the action and reaction forces, if you consider action and reaction forces according to third law, then action and reaction forces do not cancel with each other, since these forces are experienced by different bodies. So action and reaction forces will never cancel since they are experienced by different objects. Similarly, these forces are not contact forces. That means the two bodies will not be in contact with each other, and therefore these forces are not contact forces. For example, the repulsive force between two magnets. If there are two magnets and if they are repelling each other, at that time the repulsive force between two magnets is a pair of action and reaction forces. So in this case, the two magnets are not in contact with each other, and two different forces will be acting on two different magnets, and therefore this will be the example of this consequence, that is these forces are not contact forces. So action and reaction forces are not contact forces. And now let us see the next term, that is what is inertial and non-inertial frame of reference. What is inertial and non-inertial frame of reference? So first of all, what is frame of reference? So a frame of reference is a reference, or it will be the coordinate system with some origin, and therefore a frame of reference is a reference or any coordinate system with respect to which the motion of the object is described. So that will be any coordinate system, that will be any reference with which the motion of that object can be described. That reference will be called as a frame of reference. For example, if we are observing the train moving on the platform, if we are at the railway station and we are observing the motion of the train, so train is moving and then we are observing from the platform the motion of that moving train. Considering the platform as the reference, then the passengers and the train are observed to be moving. If you consider the platform as the frame of reference, then with respect to that platform, the passengers inside the train and the train are both are in motion. Similarly, if the train is considered as reference, if the train is considered as the frame of reference, then we and the platform both will be moving with respect to the train, and therefore this will be the concept of a frame of reference. Now, a frame of reference in which Newton's laws of motion, that is generally first law of motion, a frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion is applicable is called as inertial frame of reference. A frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion is applicable is called as inertial frame of reference. So, thus in inertial frame of reference, there is no net force. The net force will be equal to 0 and there is no acceleration of the body. So, in case of inertial frame of reference, both net force as well as acceleration of the body will be 0, and hence this type of frame of reference is also called as non-accelerated frame of reference. It will be also called as non-accelerated frame of reference. On the other hand, a frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion is not applicable is called as non-inertial frame of reference. A frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion is not applicable is called as non-inertial frame of reference. Thus, in non-inertial frame of reference, there is no net force. There is no net force, but the objects will suffer an acceleration. Though there is no net force, though net force acting will be equal to 0, still there will be acceleration possessed by that body, and hence this non-inertial frame of reference is also called as accelerated frame of reference. So in case of inertial frame, there is no acceleration, but in case of non-inertial frame of reference, there will be acceleration to that body. Now, if you consider the examples of these both frames of references, then a car moving with a constant speed along a straight line will be the example of inertial frame of reference. A car moving with a constant speed along a straight line is considered as the example of inertial frame of reference. On the other hand, a car taking a turn on a curved road will be the example of non-inertial frame of reference. A car taking turn on a curved road will be considered as the example of non-inertial frame of reference. So, while describing non-inertial frame of reference, the concept of pseudo force, that is imaginary force, will be considered. But in case of inertial frame of reference, the real forces will be acting on that body. So as there is no net force, so still we can say that in case of inertial frame of reference, Newton's laws of motion, that is first law of motion, is used there, it is valid there, and therefore in this case the concept of real force will be considered, while in case of non-inertial frame the pseudo force will be considered. And now let us see the next point, that is what are the limitations of Newton's laws of motion. So some of the limitations of Newton's laws of motion will be there, and these are: first one, Newton's laws of motion are applicable only in inertial frame of reference. Just now we have seen that in case of inertial frame of reference we can apply Newton's law of motion, and therefore Newton's laws of motion are applicable only in inertial frame of reference. Second point, Newton's laws of motion are applicable to only point objects, the objects which are having proper size. For these point objects only we can use Newton's laws of motion, that is for huge objects containing large number of particles we will not be able to apply Newton's laws of motion. Third, Newton's laws of motion are applicable to rigid bodies. Newton's laws of motion are applicable to rigid bodies. Now what are the rigid bodies? A body is said to be rigid if the distances between its particles are maintained under the action of deforming forces, though the force is acting on that body, and if there is no change between the intermolecular distances or the distances between its particles, then such type of body is called as rigid body. Generally the solids are considered as rigid. Then fourth point is, Newton's laws of motion are not applicable to bodies which are moving with a speed of light. So if the bodies are moving with a speed of light, that is with very high speed, at that time Newton's laws of motion are not applicable to these bodies. Again, fifth point will be the behavior and interaction of the objects. The behavior and the interaction of the objects having sizes like atoms and molecules, that is atomic and molecular sizes, cannot be explained by using these laws. That is, Newton's laws of motion are not used to explain the behavior and interaction of the objects which are having atomic as well as molecular sizes, that is very small sizes. So these are some of the limitations of Newton's laws of motion.